today the idea for having both supply and demand on stage, so Jeslyn and Marilyn, is to share about their experience and how programmatic digital home is taking advantage of the fast growth of out of home, okay? Because factually, out of home is back to be one of the fastest, or actually the fastest growing channels in the media ecosystem. That is translated by the T1NY report that you might have seen from Group M, saying that out of home is growing for 2023, expected to grow by 13%, 1.3, okay? So within this context of the growth of out of home, actually, programmatic is taking a huge booster role for that. And we'll deep dive into that, so both from a supply and demand point of view. And I will probably start with you, Jeslyn. So we know each other for almost 10 years now. And you, as an out-of-home advocate and out-of-home expert, you've seen the high and the low of out-of-home. So I always say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So in that sense, I do believe that out-of-home never been so strong after what we went through from the pandemic. But from your supply point of view, why do you see such kind of hype, such kind of traction lately around out-of-home?
I think COVID helps. After the COVID, everybody realized that going out is a fun thing, right? Having the real experience outdoor is something that is actually precious. And so for Stellar Race, we do see the upside for out of home. And what we see also, the quality of the inventory across out of home have also improved. Quantity definitely also have gone up, right? And with the usage of technology, out of home, although is the most traditional media, has now become a very engaging media to be part of the omni-channel ecosystem purchase that advertisers are looking at.
Okay, thanks. That's very helpful to understand how it grows from your point of view. And I guess the text translates a very bright futures. Actually, Marilyn, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you the same questions. We worked together on pitches in our past agency life, where out of home was not necessarily, didn't enjoy such kind of dynamic, but lately we see that such kind of hype, as I said earlier. What's your point of view? What's the hook around out of home lately from a client point of view?
I absolutely agree with what Jeslyn is saying in terms of technology and how the out-of-home landscape has really evolved over time. But at the end of the day, I think it goes back to the sheer fact that you can't take out-of-home as away as a channel that drives impact for client campaigns. That never changes. The beauty about all of that coming together then is that you now have a layer of programmatic technology that comes with digital out of home. And that is the perfect combination because then you can create impact, but be relevant in the right context at the same time.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you mentioned programmatic. So factually, the tech adoption around programmatic is refueling the growth of the entire out of home industry because actually programmatic is part of it, but there is an entire ecosystem. But factually, programmatic is fast growing, and we see that in a sense that at the global level, we see programmatic adoption around out of home growing by 50 to 80%, depending on the regions. And actually, in Vistar as well, we see that growth coming from 700 advertisers, for instance, just for the first half of the year in APAC, close to 2,000 at the global level. So we really see this appetite, this enthusiasm around the programmatic adoptions. And I like to translate, so stop me if you find my tagline a bit cheesy, but I like to say to the client when it comes to programmatic adoption around out of home, it's very similar with online channel, meaning that don't FOMO, do FEME. FEME standing for flexibility, addressability, measurement, and automations, meaning that clients now can adopt the same benefit of online channels. So if you don't mind, Marilyn, actually, because we're working with the assembly team on quite a fair bit of key account of yours from education, from CPG, from hospitality. What's the hook for them to step into pdOOH?
I think that, especially for a lot of clients, the initial setback or the initial challenge has always been around the misconception of cost of production, turnaround time, and the ability to do many creatives at the same time. I think we kind of missed that point because most often than not, people think out of home and then they think about, oh, the large print units, they think about the longer turnaround time and all of that, and it becomes a hindrance to getting campaigns started. But as soon as clients start to see that we can do so much more, you can have various call to actions that are a lot stronger. It allows for that flexibility in terms of how you want to tune your clients' campaigns and be relevant. I think that's the one that drives the adoption really, really fast.
I think that makes sense. Thanks for sharing. And from your point of view, Jess, what would be the major motivation for publishers like Stellar Eyes to step into the programmatic world for digital out of home?
Okay, so Stellar Ace, currently we have about 9,000 digital screens out there. Whether it's the HDB, in fact, we are also representing Singtel screens and NTUC, retail screens to our own stations, buses, taxis. So vast assets of digital screens that we have. And we do definitely have a lot of airtime to spare, and definitely happy to try programmatic and see how programmatic will bring us to a next level of our home advertising that reaches out to the traditionally more digital buyers, more digital advertisers who have not really tried our home, or our home in the programmatic world would allow that measurability that would be beneficial for our home as well. So with the vast assets that we have, we really wanted to try programmatic and see the effectiveness of it. Yeah.
And factually, with your inventory, you cover the entire consumer journey, right?
Yes.
Okay. And actually, speaking about that, what's your ambitions about programmatic digital phone? How do you see it for the futures of Stellar Eyes?
Okay, so like I mentioned, I would really like to reach out to the digital agencies and with the limited sales force that we have, right? Programmatic would come in very helpful. The team that I have in my sales environment would probably looking at solutions where we provide very engaging executions on ground. But reaching out to programmatic is a different level where it is fast and fast-free purchase for some clients who are more used to engaging in the online world. And so translating what they could do online into outdoor and thus creating that omni-channel ecosystem is something that I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Thanks, Jess, for sharing your ambition and how you want to full step in into this ecosystem. Marilyn, let me get back to you. And actually, I was very happy to see how Assembly has done a great job to pioneer programmatic digital home in Singapore. That said, across all the demand is still a journey. We still need to advocate about the best practice because it's still a nascent channel. So do you see any particular challenges to convey the message to the clients, and what's the fears from the client, but also what was the hook to get them in after addressing those concerns?
I think first and foremost, we have to first dispel the myth that it is still a nascent channel, because it isn't. The biggest challenge that we usually have to go through is usually in terms of measurement. The conception is that digital out of home or any out of home or any non-digital channel, for example, is not measurable. That's not the reality. Although I do hope that, and I'm super happy to be sitting next to Jeslyn today, because then it means we can have a larger conversation, but it'd be super amazing to have demand side and supply side sitting together and looking at what is the next big thing that we can do or answer in terms of measurement. How are we going to create impactful campaigns together? We've seen a lot of great out-of-home executions today. You guys have seen, 3D executions, really beautiful brand ones, things that really catches the eye from far and gets to talk of everybody on social media. But the reality is that, again, how do we now then go back and tell the client that this is an exciting and terribly successful campaign? That is always the challenge. So we want to kind of go back to basics and say, yep, good creatives is a great thing, but having great campaigns that actually brings business result is what we're looking for. So I would definitely want to see where we can work closer together in terms of finding what is that holy grail in terms of measurement.
Makes sense. Thanks for sharing. And actually, that somehow as well echoes the omni-channel. I think that was touched on the previous panelist. The omni-channel approach. So how do you manage to convey the clients how programmatic digital home now fits into the omni-channel strategy?
I mean, it's quite plain and simple, actually. Most marketers tend to forget, especially when they're so fixated on driving performance, that we forget that if you're not fueling demand on the upper and middle funnel, you're basically not going to get a large enough pool to be on the demand funnel. So you're really not going to be marketing to the same group of people over and over again if you don't build up the consideration and the awareness side of media. And that's an important thing that a lot of people tend to forget, because we're chasing numbers, we're chasing revenue all the time. But we take a step back and say, hey, and we can do this together. And we've done this before in some of our campaigns, where we look at how we can project an extended number of reach and then an extended number of actual revenue that's going to come from the campaigns if we go slightly upper funnel and draw a larger impact campaign.
Makes sense. Thanks for sharing. Actually, we are surprisingly ahead of time, but I have one more question. And if anyone has any questions, we're more than happy to address. But I have one more question, Jess, for you. So from a publisher perspective, what would you say to someone who is still hesitant to step into the programmatic space, who owns some screens, physical screen in the physical world? Yeah.
Okay, I really wonder why they have this problem. Because in the out-of-home space, it has evolved tremendously from a basic poster that we used to see, right, to digital screens. The technology of digital is just how many pixels in terms of the hardware, but what we can do with it is amazing. So, for example, we have done for clients using digital screens by just putting a camera in front of the screen. We could collect data. We could make people respond to the screen, right? And we have done quite a few campaigns. One example is National Arts Council. We put 5 local creative artwork in our screens, and we get the public to smile and vote their favorite art piece. So when they smile, at the right corner, we show the degree of the smile. And once that's done, right, as the individual who go through the 5 creatives, they will know what is their own favorite. Subsequently, we collected all this data in terms of gender and estimated age. And from there, National Arts Council picked the visual or that particular artwork to run their next campaign. So it's that continuity and how you can really get engagement and direct customer feedback that our home now could deliver very smoothly and with very clear results.
All right, thanks for sharing. So I'm gonna close that up. Just to recap the key takeaways to keep in mind. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to come over to the outside area where we can more than happy to share some of our experience from a demand point of view, from a supply point of view, and how the industry is taking advantage of programmatic digital out-of-home. But as I mentioned, the takeaways to keep in mind are all about how out-of-home is booming and strongly fueled by the programmatic adoptions, because this is what we see from the digital buyer side. Also looking at out-of-home being now addressable solutions, so really able to be more precise in the targeting approach. And last but not least, also measurable. So I think you mentioned to that, Marilyn, and we can better fit into the omni-channel solutions now. Thank you, everyone. I think we're a bit ahead of time. Maybe better for lunch, I don't know. I think there is one more session right after. Thank you.
Thank you.